It's not, well, I don't know, $1 million would be good. Dude, we're talking about your future retirement in your life. You want to guess on that? So, after going through all that, he sits down with, well, he's sitting down with a client, and I'm going to do this in like a role play. I'll use you, Igor, like a role play environment. He says, number one problem, as we've illustrated, is debt. The number two problem is financial education. Now, I don't know about you, Igor, but I went through school, and I went through business school, and I really didn't have a financial education. I didn't know what a mutual fund was. I don't know if you've ever received a class on what a mutual fund is, or how a 401k works, or what's the difference between a stock and a bond and all these different terms, right? And there's a lot of high-tech financial stuff that people talk about. It overwhelms you, but I just want to explain to you a simple concept, okay? So the education I can give you right here is more than most people have, and it's very easy. And it's something called the Rule of 72. Have you ever heard of this before?
No.
Well, the Rule of 72 is called that because 72 is a number. Well, let me back up. Let's say you were to go to let's say you got $10,000 in your pocket, and you want to go save that money. Where would you go to save the money?
Probably go to the bank.
You go to your bank.
Yeah.
These are nice guys. You've done business with them for a long time. Do you know what kind of return the bank would give you, meaning how much interest they would pay you if you gave them $10,000?
Nope.
Okay? Let's just say they gave you 1%, which, by the way, they probably won't. Just to put things into context, that's very good if a bank gave you 1%. But let's say the bank gives you 1%. Using the Rule of 72, it'll tell you how long your $10,000 becomes $20,000. So this is assuming, Igor, you put $10,000 in your bank, they gave you 1%. You take the number that they're going to give you as a return and divide it into 72. That's a pretty easy one. That's how many years? 72 years. How old are you now?
27.
So 27. So 27. So when you're 92, your 10,000 becomes 20,000. It's better than nothing. However, you probably want to spend the money before 92 years old, right?
He'd be older than that.
99.
Oh, excuse me. 99. 99 years old. So obviously so 1%, that shows you in the scheme of things, it's really not a lot of money, right? Now let's just say, let's use this example. Let's say that you had somebody, let's say you had a twin brother. I know you got a brother. I don't know how old he is, if he's similar to your age. But let's say you're both 29 years old. He uses the age 29. And let's say you have a rich uncle who passes away. And that rich uncle gives your brother and you both $25,000. Now your brother isn't lucky enough to sit down with me. So what he does is he goes to the bank. And just, again, for illustration purposes, I don't think there's any way he could do it. But let's say the bank loves him. He's cute. He flirts with the lady. She gives him 3% return on his money. Okay? So now let's use this Rule of 72 to calculate it. So he's 3 into 72 is, you might need to grab your calculator, Igor, and figure this out. I'm not really good at math.
24.
That's how many years? 24. So at 29, he's got 25,000. How many is 24 added to 29? How much? And he's not knowing this, because if he knows it, he's a wizard, right? How many is that again? It's 50.
53.
So at 53 years old, he's got 50,000. Thank you. And then how many more years? So at 78 years old, he's got
100 grand.
100 grand. Let's do this, Igor. Let's just pretend, because this will make it easier, and this will help with your practice too. let's pretend your brother gets a 6%. It's just kind of like a worksheet now. Now 6 into 72 is
12 years.
12 years. So he's 29, he's got 25. 12 years onto 29 is 41. So at 41 years old, he's got 50K. When's the next time it's going to double?
63.
53?
56.
50.
Plus 12.
It's 12, right?
Yeah.
56.
53.
Exactly.
And then another 12 years is, so you don't have to be a wizard at math to do this. So if you are 29 years old today, or this is your brother, I'm going to show you how to really supersede your brother. If you're 29 and you put $25,000 in a bank that's going to give you how much?
6%.
6%, because they love you.
Cute.
That's right. At 41 you got 50, 53 you got 100, 65 you have 200. Does that make sense? Now let's say now that was your brother. So your brother has $200,000, he's thinking he's the man, he really did wise with granddad's money. Let's say that you come and work with me and I show you how to get a 12%. 12% is how much more than 6?
Double, 100%.
Double more. So it's wise to think that at 65, how much money are you going to have?
400.
It's 400, right? That makes sense to think. It's double the amount of money. Let's do the math. Now, we're going to use the same rule of 72. So 12 into 72 is 6. So every 6 years. So now let's do the math again. 29, 6 years is 35. 6 years is 41. 6 years is 47. 6 years is 53. 6 years is 59. 6 years is 65. So 25 here becomes 50. Here becomes 100.
No.
29.
Thank you. Here becomes 100. Here becomes. Here becomes. Here becomes. And here becomes. Now look at the difference. Now, in the same amount of time, if your brother gets 6%, he's got 200. If you get 12%, you have 1.6. Now let me explain to you why this happens. In America today, there is $7 trillion in accounts that are paying less than 1% interest. Where's this money deposited? These are in banks. At the same time, there's over $1 billion in credit card debt accruing at 22% average. Who holds that money? The banks do. So let's pretend you're the bank. And you have loaned out $1 billion to people, and you're charging them 22%. Those very same people have $7 trillion invested with you, and you're paying them less than 1, let's just say 1. Would you call your clients and show them the 21% difference? Now understanding how big 6% differences.
Right.
Do you see how the banks make their money?
Yep.
The banks make their money by helping you or making you think 6% is good, while they're making 22%. That make sense?
Yeah.
So I need you to understand the banks aren't your friend. And you might have friends at the banks, but the banks themselves are in the business of making you think this is good, while they're laughing at making this on your back. So let me ask you, Igor, if I can show you how to get 12%, and the banks, now remember, the banks aren't going to give you 6, banks are going to give you 1. That's a pretty huge difference, right?
Right.
The next thing that you're probably wondering is, how are you going to get 12%? We just need to know where to look. The banks are having an easy time. 22%. Does that make sense? Because a lot of people, I go around and people say, well, yeah, if you get 12%, how are you going to get 12%? Well, you understand the general media doesn't want you to believe that's possible. They want you to believe that you need to be safe and secure and deal with 1%. And why do they want to do that? Because that's how they make their money. Does that make sense? So, you've probably heard of a mutual fund. If I was going to ask you for $1 million to describe what a mutual fund was, do you think you could do it? Most people couldn't. And I just say that just to illustrate the failure of our education system.